Please hit the bell icon for more notification. Please like, share and subscribe my channel for more videos. Here in this slides, we will discuss about what is democracy. Democracy is a system of government in which the state power is vested in the people or the general population of a state. According to United Nations, democracy provides an environment that respects human rights and fundamental freedoms, and in which the freely expressed will of people is exercised. This is a political unit as a nation that has a democratic government. Here we will discuss like three cases, or we will learn or begin with the three examples. Three cases of the denial of rights highlights the importance of rights. So life without right, the human rights were violated, and here we will discuss, first we will discuss the Guantanamo Bay by the US, and second is a denial of rights in Saudi Arabia, and third one is in Kosovo by the Milosevic government. So first we'll go ahead with the prison in Guantanamo Bay. About 600 people were secretly picked up. The US forces from all the world and were put in the prison in Guantanamo Bay, an area near the Cuba controlled by American Navy. This is an example one from which we will start. So, and his father, that is Jamie Albano, was amidst them, and the American government said that they were enemies of the US and attacked New York on September 11, 2001. In most of these, the government of the countries were not as or even informed about the imprisonment. Like other prisoners, El Vesano's family got to know that he was in the prison only through the media. Families of prisoners, media or even UN representatives were not allowed to meet them. The US Army arrested them, interrogated them and decided whether to keep them there or not. There was no trial before any magistrate in the US, nor could these prisoners approach courts in their own country. Amnesty International, an international human rights organization, collected information on the conditions of the prisoners in the Guantanamo Bay and reported that the prisoners were being tortured in the way that violated the US laws. They were being denied the treatment that even prisoners of war must get as per international treaties. Many prisoners had tried protesting against these conditions by going on hunger strikes. Prisoners were not released even after they were officially declared not guilty. An independent inquiry by the UN Secretary General said the prisoner in Guantanamo Bay should be closed down. The US government refused to accept these claims. Now we will discuss the case 2, that is a citizen's right in Saudi Arabia. Citizens' right in Saudi Arabia, the case of Guantanamo Bay looks like an exceptions for it involves the government of one country denying rights to the citizens of another country. Let us study the case of Saudi Arabia as an example 2 and the position of the citizens with regards to their government. The country is ruled by the hereditary king and the people have no role in electing or changing their rulers. The king selects the legislature as well as executives. He appoints the judges and can change of their decision. Citizens cannot form political parties or any political organization. Media cannot report anything that monarch does not like. There is no freedom of religion. Every citizen is required to be Muslim. Non-Muslim residents can follow their religion in private, but not in public. Women are subjected to many public restrictions. The testimony of one man is considered equal to that of two women. Here we'll just go ahead with the third example, that is ethnic massacre in Kosovo. So on May 14, 1999, during NATO's air campaign against Yugoslavia, Serbian security forces descended on the small village of the Koska, that is in western Kosovo. Kosovo, which consisted of Albanians, was a part of the Yugoslavia under an ethnic massacre, led to this split of the country. Yugoslavia had people belonging to many ethnicities, but the Serbs were a majority in the country. They were not in favor of Albanians, over whom the Serbs wanted to exert their influence. When Slobodan Milosevic, he was actually the Serbian nationalist, was elected to power, the government planned attack against the Albanians and killed many people belonging to the community. After the intervention of many countries, the ethnic massacre came to end and Milosevic was prosecuted for crimes against humanity. Here we will discuss rights in democracy. So, democratic rights given to the citizens when they ensure that they will not interfere with others' rights. So, rights are a must to ensure the dignity, security, and fair play to all the citizens. We'll go ahead and discuss what are rights. So, rights are reasonable claims of the persons recognized by society and sanctioned by law. Why we need rights in democracy if we talk on this? So, rights sustain a democracy and they give to every citizen a right to vote and the right to be elected to government. Rights are guarantees when things are wrong. They do not allow the majority to dominate them or their activities and all. Here we'll discuss rights in Indian Constitution. So some rights which are fundamental to our life are given a special status as they are called the fundamental rights. So Indian Constitution has given us the 6 fundamental rights. They are basic fundamental or basic features of Indian Constitution. Fundamental rights are right to equality, right to freedom, a right against exploitation, a right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to and constitutional remedies. Here we'll just go ahead and discuss about each in little brief. So we'll just discuss first that right to equality. So let us look these one by one. So we'll start with the rights to equality. It grants equality to all the citizens in the eye of law. The government shall not deny equality before law or the equal protections of the law. The laws shall be applied in the same manner to all regardless of a person's status. This is called the rule of law. Rule of law is the foundations of any democracy. So here we'll go ahead and discuss same. No discrimination can be made against any citizens on ground of birth, caste, religion, and gender. Untouchability is made a cognizable offense. Equal opportunity is guaranteed to all the citizens. Right to freedom, if we talk about this, it is one of the essential feature in our democracy. Here it means that everyone has the freedom to express their own views. We can freely communicate with others. We may disagree with the policy of the government or activities of an association. We can publicize our views through paper, magazines, poetry, pamphlets, etc. Citizens have the freedom to hold meetings, processions, rallies, demonstrations on any issues. As citizens, we have freedom to travel to any part of the country. No persons can be deprived of his life or personal liberty. except according to the uh, procedure established by law. It means that no person can be killed unless the government has order to death sentence. It also means that a government or a police officers can arrest or detain any citizen unless he has a proper legal uh, justifications. Freedom of speech and expression. Even when government or police officers arrest or detain any citizens unless he has a proper legal justification, they have to follow some procedures. A person who is arrested and detained in custody will have to be informed of the reason for such arrest and detention. A person who is arrested and detained shall be produced before the nearest magistrate within a period of 24 hours. Such a person has a right to consult a lawyer or engage a lawyer for his defense. Right against exploitation. So the Constitution mentioned three specific evils and declares these illegal. The Constitution prohibits traffic in human beings. Traffic here means selling and buying of human beings, usually women, for immoral purposes. Our Constitution has prohibits beggar in any form. Beggar is a practice where the workers is forced to render service to the master free of charge or at a nominal remunerations. When this practice takes place on a lifelong basis, it is called the practice of bonded labor. The Constitution also prohibits the child labor. No one can employ a child below the age of 14 to work in any of factory or mine or in any hazardous work such as the railway and the ports. Using such as a basis, many laws have been made to prohibit children from working in industries such as badly making firecrackers, like a BD, making BD, the smoking one we are using for firecrackers, and the match boxes, matches, printing and dyeing, because it is not good for their health. Right to freedom of religion, which we're going to discuss. Every person has a right to propagate the religion she believes in. Every religious group or the sect is free to manage its religious affairs. A right to propagate one's religion, however, does not mean that a person has a right to compel another person to convert into his religion by means of force, inducement or allurements. Of course, a person can change his or her religion by his or her own will. Freedom to practice religion does not mean the person can do whatever he wants in the name of religion. A secular state is one of that does not confer any privilege or favor on any particular religion, nor does it punishes or discriminates on the basis of religions they follow. Thus, the government cannot compel any persons to pay any taxes for the promotions of any particular religion or religious institution. There shall be no religious institutions or instructions in the government educational institutions. In institutions managed by private bodies, no person shall be compelled to take part in any of the religious instructions or to allow or to attend any religious worships. Cultural and educational rights. So there are no special guarantees for the majority because of the simple reasons the working of democracy gives power to the majority. It is the language, culture and the religions of the minority that needs special protections. Otherwise, they may get neglected. That is why the Constitution specifies a cultural and educational rights of the minorities. uh, Here, minority does not only mean religion minority at the national level. In some places, people speaking in a particular language are in majority, whereas the people speaking in a different language are in minorities. Any section of the citizen with distinct languages or culture have right to conserve it. Admissions to any institutions maintained by the government, aid cannot be denied to any citizen on a ground of religion or language. All minorities have the rights to establish and administer educational institutes of their own choice. How can we secure these rights? So fundamental rights in the constitutions are important because they are enforceable. We have right to seek the informations of the above mentioned rights which we have discussed. This is called rights to constitutional remedies. This itself is a fundamental right. This right make effective. It is possible that sometimes our rights may be violated by fellow citizens, private bodies, or by the government. When any of our rights are violated, we can seek remedies through courts. If it's fundamental rights, we can directly approach to the Supreme Court or High Court or the state. That is why Dr. Ambedkar is called the heart of the soul of our constitution. Fundamental rights are guarantees against the actions of the legislatures, the executives, or by other authorities of the institutes by the government. There can be no law or actions that violates the fundamental rights. If any act of legislature or executives takes away or limits any of fundamental rights, it will be invalid. We can challenge such laws of the central and the state government, the policies and the actions of the government or the governmental organization like nationalized banks or the electricity boards. Courts also enforce the fundamental rights against the bodies. The Supreme Court and the High Courts have the power to issue the directions, order, or the writs for the enforcement of the fundamental rights. They can also award compensations to the victims and the punishment to the violators if any person goes the courts against the violation of fundamental rights. If it is the social or the public interest, it is called the public interest litigation, that is PIL. Under the PIL, any citizen or a group of citizens can approach the Supreme Court or High Court for the protections of the public interest against a particular law or actions of the government. One can write to the judge or judges even on postcard. The court will take up the matter if its judges find it in the public interest. Expanding scope of rights. While the fundamental rights are the secure of all rights, our constitution offers a wider range of rights. Over the years of the scope of the rights are expanded. Some of it leads to the expansions in the legal rights that the citizens can enjoy. From time to time, the courts gave judgment to expand the scope of rights. Certain rights like a right to freedom of press, right to information, and right to education are derived from the fundamental rights. Now, schools education has become a right for Indian citizens. The governments are responsible for providing free education and compulsory education to all the students up to the age of 14 years. Parliament has enacted a law giving the rights to information to the citizen. This act was made under the fundamental rights to freedom of thought and the expressions. We have a right to seek information from government offices. The Supreme Court has included their rights to food. Rights are not limited to fundamental rights, are enumerated in the Constitution. Constitution provides many more rights. Sometimes the expansion takes place in this and what it's called in human rights. So sometimes the expansion takes place. So that is, there are universal moral claims that may or may not have been recognized by law. With the expansions of democracy all over the world, there is a greater pressure on government to accept these claims. The scope of rights has been expanding over the time. So the Constitution of South Africa guarantees its citizens several kind of new rights: right to privacy, right to an environment that is not harmful to their health or well-being, right to have access to adequate housing, right to have access to health care services, sufficient food and water. No one will be refused emergency medical treatment.